Let's see if this works this time. Last time we did this, there was no sound whatsoever, and everyone was commenting saying we can't hear you. So we'll just wait for a few people to drop on and see if they can hear. In fact, I know what we can hear. We can test it with this. Let me know if you can hear this. Calvin Jones, Jay Luxton, Mally. Joshua, sounds refreshing. Sound, so you can hear it anyway. So what I've done was, because last time we had a little bit of an issue with the sound, I've changed my little sound setup, and I've actually got this so I can have the sound sort of wherever it needs to be. So if it's too noisy, if it's too like poppy, then let me know. If it's too like, if it's too close to me gob, then I'm not a sound engineer. I'm still learning. So you can tell me if it's okay just there. If that's good there, that's fine for me. Mally, evening. Chris Archers, Jay Luxton, how you doing, man? Good. The knee is flipping leaps and bounds better. I feel fine, I'm walking round. Just a little bit of a niggling pain, but it's nothing. It's fixing really quick, to be fair. Daniel Bates, Guinness boy. It's got to be the Guinness, mate. The lager gives me reflux, so I have to just drink Guinness these days. I'm sort of unless I take these little reflux tablets, I'd rather not take them. So, Jay, the mic's good, fantastic. Eric, how you doing, mate? Ryan Poole, see it off. Spence, Callum Spence, sorry, John Little, Evening Kirk, Paul Murphy, how you doing, mate? Kurt, Kirk, you're changing. I'm a changing colour. Eric, you influencer, you. I know, yeah. I'm a proper nerd now. I'm a proper YouTube nerd. Check me out. I thought I'd treat myself, Johnny 67, Daniel Bates, Ash 90s, how you doing, mate? Mally, commentator material, that mate. Yeah, I know. I knew you lot will take the piss out of me when you see it. Jay, how was the op? Mate, I'll be honest with you, my experience with the operation was fantastic. I would highly recommend it. I woke up, I wasn't in much pain. When they put me to sleep, it was lovely. I wasn't sort of worried about it. I checked the odds of me dying under anaesthetic, sort of a fairly healthy middle-aged man. You've got like a 1 in 100,000 chance of not making it through. So I was quite confident with them odds that I'd be okay. And yeah, it was good. The waking up from anaesthetic was a wonderful feeling. It was like just all warm and relaxed. It was nice. It's a nice feeling. Nicholas Fellows. Hey, Mr. Kirk, man, what's your favourite dog breed? Doberman. No questions about that. Doberman. I think they're like the athletic. They can be fierce and they're fast and powerful all in one sort of go. German Shepherds are meant to be quite good dogs, but they've got too much hair and the back legs go on them. I think Dobermans, for me, would be the choice. But saying that, we've got a Cocker Spaniel and a Jack Russell. But I don't pick the animals in my family. I've got basically one wife and 3 daughters that do all the selection of what we're having. So, Joseph K did a bit of DIY plastering last week, and I tell you what, wouldn't have got through without this page. Nice to hear. Cheers, Joseph. Liam Ashley, I could do some of them tablets. So these, actually, I get acid reflux. It's not really acid. It's more just like reflux. So if I eat processed food or if I drink strong lager, 2 pints and I've just got froth coming up and it's disgusting, really. You know, it doesn't bother me so much, but it must be horrendous for anyone that stood around me to just see me like regurgitating froth. It's just flipping horrible, and it's not comfortable, to be fair. It doesn't burn, but it's not nice. And so I started taking acid reflux tablets. You know, like what they called now? I can't. You start on Rennies and Gaviscon, and then you end up taking these little tablets, but I can't think the name of them. You buy them from Asda, and then what I found really works is Lansoprazole. And my old fella gets them, and he's like, "Yeah, son, take these. These will fix you." But I'm like, I'm 38. I don't want to be taking medicine if I don't need to. So I found if I ate clean for a little while, and it stopped. So I found just drinking Guinness, it keeps it fairly under control. You know, if I have a pint of lager, that's it. When I went to America, I had some pizza when we were in New York with my daughter. I had some pizza, I had some German beer, and it kicked off. So I went to their pharmacy, and that's what you can just literally buy anything you want from America. I think they've got like far stronger medicine over there. And that was the little bottle. So I just keep it just in case, you know. I don't take them, but you never know, do you, when you need one? So it just lives there when I know where it is if I need it. Um, if you get an acid reflux, though, I'll tell you what you could try, which I did for a while. So I sort of figured out what was causing it. This is what I did if you're getting acid reflux. Just go on a carnivore diet. I just tried it. Just go on that for a couple of weeks, and everything stops. And then when you slowly start introducing stuff, you'll be able to put your finger on what causes it. So for me, I just slowly started back again. You know, I'd eat certain foods, see what happened. Oh, it kicks it off, stop again, you know, and you go, right, that's off the list. And for me, basically, too much bread, anything sort of wheat based, anything processed, especially things like, you know, tomato puree, tin soups, all things like that. No good. I'm okay with sort of whole foods, vegetables, meats, fruits, and if I drink alcohol, anything that's not fizzy. So Guinness is perfect. I don't really want to go down the route of whiskies and stuff. It's not really my. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous to get on the top shelf stuff. Um, where are we up to here now? Smelly tuna box. Could you please do another competition to win a part worn plastering trowel? Okay, we will do one. I've got at the minute 2 fellas waiting on trowels, warning trowels. As soon as they've got theirs, it wouldn't be fair on them to start doing competitions whilst they're still waiting. So I'll get theirs done, finished off, and sent out, and then we'll do another competition. So, or if you want, you can just buy one. You can just put your name on the list and buy one if you want. You'd have to get in touch with me via the channel description. My email address is in there, or there's a link. Would you get there? Yeah, there's a link actually in the description of this video for the Plastering Experience Day. That's completely sold out, but there's still an opportunity for you to fill a box in and send an email in to me. Just fill that little box in there, and you can message me there, and I'll send you the link if you want to just buy a pre-warning trowel. Fraser Smith, good evening, Kirky boy. How you doing, Fraser? You okay, mate? Masspot 76. Hi, Kirk. You can finish your bathroom now. Your knees fixed, lol. That's the plan. That's the plan. I've literally just been telling the missus tomorrow is we break ground tomorrow. I'm gonna go and buy some boards and get started on the bathroom tomorrow. So not pushing myself, just taking it nice and easy. But that's ultimately what held me up with the bathroom is just literally skimming it. Just because I find pleasure in doing everything else, but plastering, I've got like this mental thing where if I'm not getting like paid for it, or I don't know, it's just you do it every single day, and then you come home, you don't really want to do it again. Whereas when I go to somebody else and I do it for somebody else, I've got all the enthusiasm. But in my own house, it's just sort of Oh, do I have to? Um, ah, Jay Luxton. I've only ever had one op, and I was shitting it. Yeah, I don't know. To be fair, mate, I wasn't too bothered. I don't know why, but I've said this on the last live. I ultimately I'm not so much scared for me. I've never really had a fear of dying. As crazy as that sounds, I'm not a psychopath or nothing, but I've never really been that worried so much about, if your time's up, your time's up. I've not really ever panicked about it. Whereas now, what makes me panic more is not so much me. I panic for my family. I worry for them. So all that was on my mind was, if anything goes wrong here, the girls are all sort of grown up. They're not little tots anymore. Whereas the little fella, he was on my mind. I was thinking, I've got to make it for him. Who's going to teach him to be a man if I don't pull through? So that's what I was more worried about. Um, Shane Mothershaw, glad you're back on your feet. Cheers, Shane. Thank you, mate. I am myself. I'm glad it seems to have gone better than what I thought it was. Than what I was anticipating was a lot more pain and for a lot longer, and it seems to be fixing really quick. I've not took any painkillers, so I've been able to sort of assess every day how it feels, and I'm walking around now almost with, I can feel it, but it's not painful. It's not hurting me to walk around. I walk with a bit of a limp. I suppose if I walked normal, I'd probably jolt it a bit, but we're getting there quite quick. Um, Paul Murphy, warm when you wake up, Kurt. You might have peed yourself. No, there was none of that. I didn't have an epidural or nothing, mate. I was genuinely just all like, the only way I can describe it is, when you've had like some whiskey and it warms you up. It felt like that. Like my chest just felt warm, but I felt relaxed and like a little bit drowsy. I felt like stoned, if that makes sense. Like tipsy, stoned, sleepy. It was I woke up and she said, "Are you okay? Do you feel okay?" I was like, "Oh, I feel great." So yeah, she just started laughing. The nurse, she just laughed at me and walked off. um Ivan Prico, hey Kirk, I've just bought my first carbon steel trowel, and when I look down one of the sides, it curves a bit in the toe instead of out. How could I fix that? Okay, Ivan, just bear with me. Yeah, wait there. I'll just show you. Just wait there. Let me just see. Right, this is going to be tricky to show you. So there's two ways of doing it. So there's your trowel. And if it's curved the wrong way, if it's going that way, if this corner's sticking down or, this end's sticking down like this, right? When you look down it like that, you're going to be able to see exactly where that is. And wherever it lands, it could be there, or it could be under there. That's a bit tricky. It's a pain in the ass to get there. Wherever it is, say it's there, just put your. Some fellas will disagree with this way, but this is the way I've always done it, and I'll show you two ways, and you pick what you want to do, okay? Because both ways can break your trowel, but what you're going to think is it's already broke, it's already knackered. If it's bent the wrong way, it's already going to be a nightmare. So, in my mind, is if you completely ruin it, you've lost nothing, okay? So the two ways are, let's just say you identify where the kink is. If it's bending the wrong way there, I just put this on a solid piece of wood. Go and get a hammer and just dink it there. Just literally just hit it. Bink, bink, bink. Look down it and just keep checking and hitting it a bit more. Just literally hammering the back of this will bend it. Now, if it's under here, under the handle, that's a bit more difficult. You'll have to get like a bar, like a long cold chisel, and lay it on the point where you need it and then hit next to it. Okay, so you're going to, if it was under here, you'd have a bar sticking out here and you just hit right next to it so that the impact's transferred onto it, okay? That's one way. That's the way I've always done it. and that's been fine. Now, what some guys like to do is this spine here is made from quite soft metal. Okay, so say for instance your kink, wherever it is, say it's here, say the kink's there. What you can do is hold your trowel. Oh, can I show you there? Right, hold your trowel there, and literally with another trowel. I don't want to do it because I don't want to cause a big thing in here. But you're just going to chop into it like literally like boom, boom, and it's going to get stuck. It's going to get stuck in there. And what you're actually doing is you're sending little chunks of this spine underneath it, and it's going to push the trowel out the right shape. Okay, so you're just chopping it, not hard. The weight of the trowel does it, but it's just bing, bing, check it, bing, and just keep going. They're the two different ways that you can send it back the right way again. You can get the curve right again by doing that. Now, when you hit it with the hammer, you can pop a rivet. You could re-rivet the trowel, but I don't know. I mean, you'd have to go and see a metal worker to do that, maybe. Or if you've got a rivet gun yourself, perhaps you could drill it out and re-rivet it and sand it down. I don't know. Whenever I've popped the rivet, I've just gone, it's finished. Throw it in the bin. So smacking it can pop a rivet, and it can snap the spine, and chopping into it can pop a rivet. So just be warned. But if it's already knackered, then what have you got to lose? Kev Lamb, oi oi, big man. Good evening. How we doing, Kev? Anthony, 1984. Doberman of Beauties. Done a job on Friday where the woman had a Belgian Malinois, I don't know how you say that, ex-police dog, and God help anyone that breaks into that house. It's literally a trained killer. I can imagine. Dean Lark, like Kirk, I sent an email a few days ago. Okay, mate, I will check my email inbox. Sometimes things end up in the spam folder as well, mate. And I'll be honest with you, in all truthfulness, sometimes I do get a little bit overwhelmed because I get text messages, phone calls, Facebook messages, WhatsApps, emails, and it's hard if you sort of get more than like say if I get 20 messages a day, I could normally respond to them, but sort of when you're getting like 20 plus on a consistent basis, sometimes I fall a little bit behind, mate, and I don't intentionally do it, but I just get I just run out of time myself, and I run out of flipping mental strength because yourself, I'm trying to do things in my own life. I'm trying to get like organized and sort my tax out and sort this out and sort of coaching group and all the other things that I'm doing, and just answering questions just takes a lot of energy. So sometimes, like, if I get like 20 emails, I'm just like, oh, I can't do them just yet. I'll come back to that, and then it gets overlooked. So I am sorry. I will try my best. I'll look for you. If you want, send me another email now and it'll bump it up. Just send me another one. Just say, hey, it's me, and it'll bump it to the top, and then I'll get back to you, mate. River Braid, I had to change the sourdough bread. Helps me. Well, I've just had some naan bread before, so hopefully it doesn't kick it off. James, can't hear you again. Only joking. Yeah, don't start, James. Flipping heck. Dean Dark, I got my first ever plastering job. Okay, mate. Okay, definitely send me another email. Let's have it. Whatever you want to chat about. Let's just bump it to the top of the list, mate. Chris Swan, what do you think of Trump and Vance giving Zelensky a telling off? I don't want to get all political, right? I don't want to get all political, but there's a lot of stuff. It depends, right? It depends which side of the fence you decided to pick with this. Let's just say, for instance, right, if you started off when all this sort of first come about, if you decided you were going to sort of take the side of Ukraine and listen to the media and sort of, it's not fair, Russia's bullying them and all that, then you've sort of got an emotional attachment to that side of the argument, haven't you? Whereas what I've always done is what I've always done with the media is whenever I see someone on the news, I always think, what are they trying to? Because we don't get told what's important for us or what the truth is. We just get told what they need us to believe, right? So it's sort of like with all the COVID stuff. Remember, they sort of they when they want you to do something, and then it's like you've got to stick with it. So I've got friends now that have been, triple jabbed, boosted 10 times, and all the rest of it, and they're still like, COVID, COVID. And then I know people that are sort of like, well, I did the first one, but then I sort of seen through it and I've jibbed it off. And then like I didn't take any, and I've caught COVID. So, but I was like, I'm not having any injection that you are. If I'm being forced to have an injection, I don't want it. So that was me. So if anything the news say, I'm like, whoa, hang on a minute, let's just slow down and think about this. Now, the whole thing with Zelensky is when you look back in the history of Ukraine, it's not just a recent thing that's going on here. Ukraine and Russia and all the rest of the stuff that's going on has got a lot of history to it. And when you look into it, there's a lot of stuff that has gone on. For instance, since the 90s, once Ukraine was released from Russia and given independence, the deal was that the West wouldn't advance anymore to the East and the East wouldn't advance anymore to the West, right? That was the deal. You wouldn't move any closer. And since then, NATO have been one by one installing their flipping army in each country, getting closer and closer. They haven't kept their end of the deal. Okay. So the West have been encroaching on Russia non-stop since that. They've broke what they said. And something happened in Ukraine and America actually put Zelensky in power. That Ukraine had a civil war and Zelensky was put in by the West. Okay, so he's like a puppet. He's already a Western puppet, and he's been installed. And then since that, he's then said, "Oh, we'll join NATO," and Russia's like, "Nah, we're having none of this." Now, there's more to it. It's never as clear cut as that. It's never just over one thing. There's always extra things. There's bio flipping labs that are in Ukraine that shouldn't be there. Ukraine's been one of the biggest money laundering flipping countries in the world. There's a lot going on in Ukraine that we don't get told by the media. But if you do a little bit of digging, a little bit of research, then you go, okay, there's more than what meets the eye with this whole situation. Zelensky's an actor. I don't know what's going on, but I don't know. I ultimately. Here we go. My daughter's ringing me. Sorry. 1 second. I can't ignore this. All right, Iz. You okay, love? I'm just on live. You okay? I'll send it you now. All right, sweetheart. Love you, mate. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Sorry. Bear with me. You can't race it, can you? My daughter just wants a couple of quid in a bank account for her. Bear with me. I've got one of these bank accounts where it has little spaces in it, and you can literally it's like my bank account, and I can open little little compartments of it and get a bank card for each one, so you can open spaces for your kids. So she's got a little space of her own little bank card, and ultimately I'm in control of her money. I can put money in and take it out, and I'm in charge of it. She's only 13, by the way, so. Yeah, sorry, Ukraine. Let's just tie it up quick. I'm not getting that political. I'm just telling you my views and the things that have swayed my mind. World War II, Ukraine ultimately backed the Nazis, and there's still a lot of. Gotta watch what I say. I ultimately could get my channel pulled off YouTube for this, but there's still Nazis in Ukraine. They had a holiday. Just recently, they had a national holiday for Bandov. I can't think of his name. Anyway, they had a national holiday just literally in the last couple of weeks for the Nazi. I mean, they've got some. They've got some very, very far right views, which is interesting because they've got a lot of the left supporting them that don't actually know what's going on in Ukraine. I mean, you've got people on the left in our country supporting Ukraine, but if they went there, they'd get killed. So, I mean, like, ultimately, here's my view on it to finish off. Ukraine can't win this war, right? Russia could just splat them in 10 minutes if they wanted to. I don't know why they're dragging it out so long, but I don't personally think Ukraine's got a chance of winning. And if you look online now, there's videos circulating of Ukrainian soldiers going around dragging young lads off the streets and sending them to the front line. Okay, they're getting pushed to the front line to die for no reason because Zelensky could just end the war like that; it'd just be finished. Okay, so I just think it's a bit. There's a lot of needless death, and the faster it gets resolved, the better. And if America weren't back in Ukraine, then they'd be gone, wouldn't they? And then Zelensky sat there, you know, having a laugh, doing his comedian stuff because he is a comedian. That's what he was. He wasn't a politician. He was an actor, and he sat there, sort of taking the mick. So, anyway, let's move on. The good thing is, whether we agree or disagree, we're all man enough to say, look, he's got a different opinion, and I respect his opinion. So that's it. My mate absolutely loves Zelensky and hates Trump, and I like Trump, and I'm not really fond of the other one, but we're still best mates. You know, we just agree to disagree on certain subjects because that's the point of being a man. If we're all the same, it'd be very boring, wouldn't it? Omar, evening, Kirk. River Braid, he got told. He did indeed. He got told, off you pop. Come back when you're ready to talk. Trevor Gray, still using my Tyzac and Marshall time from years ago. Wouldn't change. Yeah. That recent video, I didn't want to sell my trowel. I didn't want to be saying this is the best trowel to get. This is the best trowel for me. I like a 14 before inch carbon steel Marshalltown trowel. I like the wooden handle because it makes me feel old school. But, you know, that for me is ideal. But you can't be biased. I've had Nella trowels in the past. I've had Refiner trowels. I've had Tyzac trowels. I like them all. And they were all fantastic at the time. What I like is the change. You know, it's sort of like if you drive a Ferrari for 20 years, you get a bit bored and you want a Bugatti, you know? It's not saying that one's better than the other. It's just nice to have a change, isn't it? So all that video, I was just trying to point out that get a well-made trowel that will last you and it's worth spending the time wearing it in then. Dean Darklight, I've been out of work for 3 months. I do concrete and masonry, but a plaster job fell into my lap. Right, okay. Fantastic. Well, I'll chase your email up and potentially send me your number. We can have a little chat if you want, mate, if I can help you anyway. Richard Morris, hi Kirk. How can you repair a crack in external render? Runs from roof to ground. Any suggestions? Make sure it's solid first, both sides. So tap on each side, take out any hollow bits. If there's a big section, say like this area here, say this was a hollow section, like when you tap it sounds loose, but over here is solid. Rather than just snapping this bit out because it'll weaken everything around it, get a little drill bit and drill, chain drill. Okay, so you're gonna drill lots of little holes like stitches right around the loose bit and then take it out. Once the loose bit is gone, once you render, the crack in your render, rake it out, you know, make sure you can get into the middle of it and all the loose bits gone. If the brickwork's cracked, you might have to do a bit of brick stitching with a brick stitch kit. But if it's just a render that's ultimately had a bit of shrinkage, then you can fill it with sand and cement, SBR inside it to take away all the suction, fill it with sand and cement and do your best. The part of blending in, that's on you. I can't really tell you how to do that. You're going to have to figure out how to blend it in best for whatever pattern you've got. But if you SBR it all, it'll stick quite well, you know, and you won't get much shrinkage because there'll be no suction, you know. Chris Swan, get the young lad to plaster it and make sure he leaves a good job. So this young lad's my nephew. He's not quite there yet, but I can't risk it just yet. He hasn't even picked up a handboard and trowel yet, you know. Um, Drop short, even and all from Dorset. Trevor Gray had both shoulders and elbow done, plus Amy's repaired. Joys of long-term time served plastering. Kirk, feel for you. Cheers, mate. My knee was actually done because of sport, not plastering, but I am starting to feel the aches and pains as I'm getting older, mate. Yeah. Um, Dean Dartlight, I told Tom Aspinall to say hi to you. Cheers, mate. Robardo Kennedy, careful limping about in public. People will think you've been away to Thailand. Yeah. I told some fella, I can tell I hope there's no women on. I hope there's no women listening to this. But one of the fellas in the pub said, "What? You're limping there, Kirk?" I said, "Yeah. Didn't put any undies on today, mate." I wish. Oh, here we go. Where's these bloody comments gone? I'll tell you what, let's read all this quite quick. So I'm going to skip through this quite quick, boys. LDC Building Services, hey Kirk, thank you for all your videos, mate. It's an absolute pleasure. Jeff Roach, is the SBR the same, or do you think they are different types? Because the one we get in Travis seems to be not as good as PVA. Yeah, there's different types of SBR, mate. Some are stronger than weaker. The way the science nerds measure it, science nerds, they hate it when I call them that. I've got science nerds that help me with our SBR. Well, actually, they don't help me. Sort of, they don't need me. I just sort of sell it. I asked them what I wanted, and then they do it for themselves. So, they call it solids contents. So, the solids in off the shelf bought SBRs goes anywhere from mid 30% up to like 45% solid content, which means that the actual SBR, the synthetic rubber, is suspended in water. So like 40% of it would be synthetic rubber and the rest would be water ultimately. Our SBR is the strongest that you can get. So I forget off the top of my head. I should know, really, shouldn't I? But it's above 50% solids on SBR. That's why it's quite thick, so it doesn't drip all over you. But yeah, so there's definitely basically it's just like getting ours and watering it down, and that's the only difference, really, you know. Mega Jamie Sod, I Kirk. Oh wait, there. Sorry, I've missed one here. Right, Bond 25. Do you do other work like building garden walls and fitting gates? I have done stuff in the past. I'm not very good at bricklaying, but I have done things like building gates and a bit of woodwork. I enjoy doing stuff like that, but I don't do it as a job. I just sort of do it for fun, you know. Mega Jammy Sod. Hi, Kurt. Just plastered over Artex and it looks like a new ceiling. Fantastic. Well, it is. It's good. Murphy D. Exactly, mate. Wanting all that rare earth. Well, you know the score. David Thompson, have you ever knocked up SBR into your finishing plaster, and do you think it would stop them little movement cracks? I've never put it in finishing plaster just because I think it would be a bit tricky to finish. I think it would drag, but I have put it in base coat plaster and it works amazing. So, I mean, ultimately, it does a similar thing in sand and cement. I think it'd be hard to trowel up, but I've never tried it. So, you know, let me know. Have a go and let me know what happens. River Braid, I didn't take any either. Happy and healthy still. Yeah, I didn't take the vaccines, but my missus did, and my mum and dad did, but I didn't. I just thought, you know, again, not scared of death. If it's my time, I'll go. And then I caught COVID. So, well, they said it was COVID. I mean, they went to the testing station. I didn't want to go, but I genuinely did feel very rough. And I went to the testing station, and they got that thing, and they went right my nose. Flipping out. And tests come back, they were like, yeah, you're positive. You can't go to work. You can't do anything. You've got to just stay in your house. Which suited me down to the earth, so I didn't mind. Exploration UK. BlackRock own the guns and the trucks to rebuild it. Ukraine. My arse. There's a lot of people that do a lot of research. It's good to see. Rather than just listening to the BBC. Sean, I mean, you know you can trust the BBC, don't you? They've always had our best interests at heart, you know. Basically, they've covered every single paedophile that's ever flipping been in the media. They've made sure that they've tried to keep them out the limelight and protect them as much as they can. I mean, they're obviously trustworthy guys. The news is finished, man. I mean, it's hard. So I'm saying this now, so I don't want to upset anybody, because I understand that a lot of people that watch my channel are like my dad's generation. And what I found is, speaking to my old fella listens to the news. He puts it on Sky News every morning, soaks it up. BBC News soaks it up. That's how it is for me dad and his generation. I mean, there's some guys that don't, but ultimately, I think a lot of the younger generations are a lot more skeptical of things. The fine line you've got to balance out, though, is when everything's a conspiracy theory and you don't know what to believe and everything's not what it seems, you know, and that's the tricky part. But I think with a bit of common sense and not just believing blindly what the man on the TV says, you know, you can sort of come to your own conclusions. I think this is the way I look at it. If you ignored the news and just had a few fellas like your mates around you and you just relied on each other, like for instance, if you just turn the TV off, right? I'm just using COVID for an example now. So I had at the time my brother, my brother-in-law, a couple of other blokes around us, and we weren't watching the news, and we were talking about the whole situation just between us, and we just come to rational decisions just by ourselves, and we're like, do you know anyone that's died of this that isn't like already on death's door, like that isn't already like 30 stone or 100 years old? Because I don't know anyone. And my mate was like, yeah, my mate's grandma's died in a nursing home of COVID. I'm like, yeah, but how old is she? 98. Right, okay. So we sort of ruled that out. And between us all, we're like, yeah, if this is as bad as what they say it is, then we should know people between like the five of us. We should know people that are just dropping off. Now, I know some people did drop off, but what I mean is it wasn't as widespread as what it seemed. I seen on the TV there was like body bags in sports halls. You know, there was just hundreds of people. Remember all the stuff from China? People were just collapsing on the streets when that first, like, we didn't see none of it in real life. So we just come to our own rational decisions that, yeah, this is bullshit. I ain't taking no injection unless I know somebody and I see them like gone, then fair enough. But I mean, I was speaking to a nurse and she was telling me that there was people in hospital and they knew how to treat them. They knew what they would usually do, but they were told that you are not allowed to do this. With COVID, you have to treat it like this. And they said we were watching people basically suffocating to death because we weren't allowed to do our usual protocol in that situation. If you went in with say pneumonia, they would give you X, Y, and Z, but they weren't allowed to do that. They had to put you on a ventilator and do this instead. And anyway, she was getting all upset, telling me that she was crying, saying it was horrendous. But anyway, let's not go and watch Joe Rogan, man, about conspiracy theories. I'm not your man for it. I'm just a plasterer, and I'm not the smartest guy in the world, so I don't want to tie myself up in any knots, say something that I end up regretting because my channel gets deleted. So I'm not your man for this sort of stuff to talk about. Murphy D, Orange Revolution 2014. Victoria Newland tapes. I've not heard of them. I'll look that up. Cheers. See what rabbit hole that is for me to go down. John Fox, best way to prepare new carbon trowels. Wanting to try them and have two bought. Take them, use them as much as possible. Just rub the blade part there on the concrete floor, spin it round and rub the other way. Spend a lot of time, as much time as you can, rubbing them. Some fellas want to use a stone to wear them in, or something you sharpen chisels on. You could potentially do that. Use it as much as you can on sand and cement. I don't dry my. This is a carbon steel trowel. This is a new one. I haven't used it yet, but I don't dry these off, and I don't soak them in oil. I just literally use it and put it in my van. And when I get it, if I haven't used it for a week and I pick it out, it'll have a lovely dark patina on this after you've used it for a while. And the only bit that's metal coloured is down the blade where it gets the business end of the blade, and that's where you'll get little spots of rust. So if you get that, just take it and rub it on a bit of concrete or whatever, and it'll just rub it off. And you're good or a plasterboard. I've done it on plasterboard. Just rub it, and it's good to go. They're not hard to look after, Macanda's 1888 bicarbonate of soda in warm water ends the reflux seed. Mate, I know. And I'll tell you what else it does as well. Soon as I put one big teaspoon in a, I just do it in cold water, one big teaspoon in a glass of cold water, knock that back. Within about 10 minutes, you're belching, you're like, bleh, bleh, bleh. But you're right, the reflux goes almost it's like an instant cure for it. So what I'm trying to do though is I'm trying to stop the cause rather than trying to treat the symptoms. So it's good to have all these things as backup plans, but I'm trying to stop taking or eating, consuming whatever it is that causes it. So hi Kirk, love the lives on Sunday and glad you're on the mend. Cheers, mate. Thanks, Gino. Jeff Roach, is all SBR the same, or do you think there are different types? Because one we get in Travis seems to be not as good. Did I read that? How have we gone up? So I've read that twice. Sorry, mate. Yeah. The Battler. Look at the map of recorded program sites. Most of them are located in Ukraine. Not saying Russia is any better, but Ukraine is the same. They're both Slavs. DD. Learning a lot from you, big man. Appreciate the knowledge, especially for a top grafter like yourself. Cheers from Glasgow. Cheers, mate. Thank you for the compliment. United Reds, don't disagree with anything. Just not your fight to be had, mate. Yeah, that's what I think, mate. I'm just observing, I'm not even observing. I'm not even interested, to be honest with you. I know it sounds ruthless, but there's stuff going on all over our world, man. There's stuff going on. There's injustice and crime and killing going on everywhere. And it's good to be aware of what's going on, but don't become too consumed of it because there's always been crimes and wars going on. But you've got to live your life at the same time. So you need to be aware, especially as a man, you need to have a situational awareness of, can this affect me and my family? But if it isn't currently affecting you and your family, then you've got to sort of live for the moment and enjoy your life, because you can spend your whole time worrying about what's going on that's out of your control, and your whole life's in a state of panic and worry. And who does that benefit? It's not. Maybe that's what the news want. Maybe people that are fearful are easier to control, regardless of whether that's what they want or not. I mean, because you don't really get much good news from the news, do you? When you turn the news on, they never really tell you how wonderful anything is. But regardless of that, how are your family going to bear up if you're constantly under stress and worry? Just enjoy your life. You've just got to sort of make the most of what you've got now here, and if it's on your doorstep, then you have to do something. If it's sort of, if it's coming towards you, then fair enough. But if it's, I don't want to sound like a pacifist, like I'm not interested and I don't care, but there's stuff going on in all countries, you know. Um, Bomber plastering, you bang on what you stated about Ukraine, and all the lefties think that Ukraine are the ones who need help. Either way, hopefully there'll be a peace treaty as soon as possible. Sooner the better. Whatever it takes, even if somebody has to be humiliated, even if someone has to swallow their pride, if it stops another family's little baby boy being slaughtered for no reason, then so be it. Because I tell you now, right, I don't. The older I've got, when I was younger, I wanted to join the army. I went and did my selection, and I passed to go into the Royal Engineers. That's what I wanted to do. Do you think for 1 minute I would let one of my children go and fight for the views of my government? Our government, I don't agree with them on anything. I'm not going to sacrifice my son. Flipping no way. And I don't think anybody else's children should be sacrificed. I ultimately don't believe that the governments of the world do anything for our benefit. They say they do, but when you're watching what's happening, how is it? How is it our government? I don't want to get too political. It's just things that I'm aware of. How is it our government have got billions to send to Ukraine, but yet our old age pensioners are having their heating allowance took away from them? How is it we've got homeless veterans all over the country, homeless, not even veterans, just homeless English people all over the country, but yet we can house people from other countries. We can bring them in by the boatloads, unvetted. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they're from. We don't know what their intentions are, but we can give them hotels and money and flipping mobile phones and computers. But yet, with our own people, can be left to freeze to death on the streets. It's just, I don't know. I know there's certain pots that the government will pay for different things, but it just doesn't seem right to me. So, um, Joe James, I can't wait to try your SPR and how much better it is controlling suction compared to normal SPR. Well, ultimately, mate, depending on what SPR you've been using and what backgrounds you're going over, you might not notice a massive difference initially, Joe. It just depends. If you're on a high suction background and you're using my SPR neat as opposed to a weaker brand neat, then you might notice a big difference. But if you're going over a background that's already completely sealed, say it's been silk paint, then you might not notice a difference initially. What you will notice is it'll be faster drying and thicker. It won't drip all over you. Clint, hi Kirk, how's the knee this week? Am I right in saying you add SPR to the plaster? And if so, how much do you add? The knees on the mend feels good. I personally don't add SPR to plaster. I never have done. I don't think it'll trail up nice, mate. I use SPR as a primer and a sealer before putting the plaster on. So if I was going to plaster over this, I actually could plaster over this with SPR. I've done it on a piece of glass. You can literally SPR that, let it dry, and skim on it. Perfect, no problem. Ash, the Russians could end the war and just leave. Yeah, that's the bit I don't get. That's the bit I don't understand why they seem to be dragging it out, because whatever the objectives are, I know they've gone in and they've sort of dismantled so many facilities. I don't ultimately know why they haven't stopped, unless it's just the fact that Ukraine just keep fighting back. Because the whole world keeps pumping Ukraine with money. Maybe that's the reason. So I don't know. I don't know. Lorenzo Sinclair, just wanted to thank you for your videos. I've now plastered 3 rooms and made umpteen repairs, all thanks to your videos. You should be commissioned for the savings viewers are making. Mate, I'm just happy. The views, actually, when you watch my videos, I do make money from that, mate. So just the fact that you watch the videos and the adverts pop up and you watch some adverts, that's how YouTube pay me. So I sort of do get a little commission for it, mate. Well, saying that, it adds up. It's sort of getting better and better. So I've got no complaints about it. I've got no requests for money for you, mate. As long as you're happy, it's a wonderful thing. This actually, because if I can benefit you guys and you take value from it, it doesn't cost you nothing. You just watch the videos. The advertisers pay me. They get what they want because you see their adverts, and I get paid. So it's actually a beautiful thing because it's win-win-win. And as well, if I want to film a certain thing, I can afford now to be able to go and do a job for free for someone because I make money from the video instead. So it's amazing, isn't it? You're thinking in a world where someone always has to suffer for something, to people have the mindset that someone has to get above somebody else. You have to push somebody else down so you can get up. In this situation I've got now, it's a lot of weight off my shoulders because everybody wins. Nobody feels a pinch from it, so it's good. Peter O'Connell, it's fascinating to watch both sides' opinions and views get reinforced by their own respective sources and rarely challenged. I'm sure the truth is somewhere between two. It's a sad game. Yeah. Right. So, Peter, I agree with you 100%. And that's what I was saying before. I sort of, by default, took the side of the underdog in the eyes of the media. I, by default, because I don't trust the media, sided with Russia, thinking, let's look into what's going on. And what's interesting, when you watch stuff on the internet, the algorithm will feed you more of it. So if you watch something pro-Ukrainian, you will get fed more of that same content. So it compounds and reinforces your view. I'm aware that that's happened to me the opposite way. Now, I've got an open mind. And that's why I'm saying I am not sort of taking sides. I'm just observing. But the more you hear one side of a view, if you're sort of observing, you have to sort of give the opposite side of the view, don't you? Because if you're looking at it both ways, and you got to say, well, actually, it's not all this, it's this, this, and this. Because where I live, everyone's got a Ukraine flag in the front garden. Everyone's got the Facebook profile with the Ukraine flag on it. And it's sort of, hang on a minute. I'm not saying that these guys are wrong, but you don't actually know the full story. I mean, you're supporting somebody that would ultimately flipping turn you over if you turned up in their country. I mean, you're saying you support them, but you go there and see how they welcome you. You might be getting carted off to the front line as cannon fodder. So, and the sad thing is, I don't think we ever know. You get propaganda from both sides. You have to understand that everything you see is propaganda by both sides. And then at the end of that, whoever the winner is, they write the history. So, is it worth getting that stressed out about it? Jed Law, what do you think of an Ox speed skim? There we go. Let's keep me on plastering stuff. Let's just talk about plastering. Ox speed skim. I think Ox have ultimately bought out Speed Skim. I think the original Speed Skim brand has been bought by Ox. So I keep one on my van and I use a Speed Skim for flattening Artex ceilings before I trowel them up. I flatten them off before I second coat them. And I use the Speed Skim for that because it's very fast and it does a good job. So I like them. I'd recommend using one. James Lynch. Hi, Kirk. Do you like Trump? I personally do like him, yeah. I do like him. And I don't agree with everything he says, but every man should have his own opinion. Every man that agrees with everything. If all you were sat here now, say, sort of, I agree with every single thing Kirk says, I'm like, well, what sort of a man are you? You should have your own opinion on stuff, And if it's nice to sort of disagree with someone, it's nice. It's good. If you're sat down with your mate and you both agree on absolutely everything, then there's no foundation to you. It's good to disagree with each other and then have it out a little bit and beat it out the bush. And then at least you get to the root of it and you really, you understand where someone's coming from, and you get to the bottom of it, and then you have a deeper understanding of a subject. So I personally like Trump. I don't agree with everything he says, but what I do like about him is he's got the bottle to say it. What I don't like is, now I don't know much about Keir Starmer. I'm only going off what I've recently seen of him, and straight away my initial thoughts on the man, without knowing nothing about him. Literally, I'm not joking. I don't know hardly anything about this fella. Only what I've seen since the Zelensky Trump situation, because I don't watch the news. So Keir Starmer's never popped up on my radar. But I'm looking at the guy, and he's all smiles, and I just see him as somebody that just says what people want to hear. I just feel he's a bit sneaky. And that's how I feel about a lot of politicians. And I just like the fact that Trump has got the balls to just say what he thinks. Whether you like him or not, it's a lot easier to know where you stand with someone that tells you rather than hiding it, if that makes sense, you know? Where are we going here now? Exploration UK. Gax you in. Yes, you, Alan. Okay, I don't know what this guy's on about, but okay. John Bergman. I like to get my news from UK column and independent news channel. So I try and get my news from people that are actually feet on the ground. So when all this started with Russia, um, I've actually got well, Natalia. I've got a good mate, Sean, and his missus, who they've recently split up in the last 8 years. She's moved back to Russia, but she lived in the UK for about 10 years, plastered all the house for them, got to know her really well. She's Russian. So I've spoke to her. So when we've seen a lot of the stuff going on in the country, a lot of the propaganda, I was phoning her, and she was telling me it's actually all stage, Kurt. There's nothing going on. People are just carrying on life like normal. So what you can see on TV of that region, it's completely false, because I'm literally just walking to the shops. So I can message her on Facebook Messenger, and she's just telling me. And even what was interesting was, even when they said Facebook was down or the internet was down in Russia at some point, I can't remember what it was, I Facebook messaged her, and she was messaging me back. And I was telling her, we're being told that your internet's down. And she's like, well, you're talking to me. I'm here. So, yeah, bizarre, isn't it? Medic Kumar, hi Kirk. Just wanted to use the opportunity to say hello and big thanks for all the knowledge and passion you're sharing on this channel. Thank you, Medic. Thank you very much, mate. Chris Swan, what happened to Leighton? I would like to know as well. So, Leighton, he was sort of, when you sort of getting the feel that someone's not getting it, and then he sort of, he's a good lad, lovely lad, very punctual, nothing bad to say about him. I felt like he was sort of stuck and he wasn't progressing. I think he was feeling it, and he was sort of complaining about a few things, I want more money and all this sort of stuff, but wasn't really doing anything extra. And then he went to his mum's wedding, and as you said, he said he didn't know how long he was going to be in Scotland for. So I said, well, when you come back, mate, just message me when you're back, and you come back in again. And then that was basically the last I've heard of him. I haven't really seen sight and the sound of him since then, apart from the fact that his mum's on my Facebook, and I've seen that he's going in the army. So I just wished him well, that he's signed up, and he's joining the military. Um, well, it's like that sometimes with lads, Sometimes you get a lad and he's fantastic, and he ticks all the boxes, and he wants to learn, and you get on great, and it just works. And then sometimes you go through a little spate of just young lads, they come and they dip the toe in the water, and it's not for them. It's fine, there's no hard feelings. You don't have to sort of, no, you've got to learn now. You're here. If it's, your life's your life. If it's not working, go and do something else. It's not a problem. So, yeah, they come and go sometimes. My nephew's with me at the minute, young Reese. He's started. He's picked the ball up, so we'll see how he gets on. Will Manhunt, hi Kurt, because you're a really good plasterer, does that mean you're really good at buttering toast? No, I'm absolutely crap at it, to be honest with you, mate, and I usually tear it, so my missus is far better than me, mate. She's had a lot more practice as well, so that's how we try and keep it. She's probably listening, that's it. I'll never get around a toast ever again. Arash 90s just wanted to say thank you for all the videos. Been binge watching all your videos for the last 2 weeks, as I'm going to take a track at plastering my entire house in a few weeks' time. Fantastic, mate. Hope it goes well for you. And you know where I am. If you have any questions, mate, feel free to hit me up. Oh, here we go. Straight away in the next comments. Quick question. Do you need to try... Oh, sorry. Do you need to SBR or any sealants on bricks before dabbing to put the plasterboard? And what brand do you recommend for plaster additive? Okay. Before you dab walls with drywall adhesive, you don't need to seal them. The drywall adhesive is designed to stick to a high suction background, so it'll be fine. Plaster additive, I don't know what you mean by that, mate. So the multi-finish or board finish, that comes ready to go. You don't need to do anything to it, just use it. The additives I put in it, you don't really want to be doing that if it's just, well, maybe you could put some extra time in, but there's two types ultimately. There's accelerator and retarder. There's a few different brands that do these. I use Easy Mix. I would recommend, if you're just first getting started, that you just use the plaster as it is. If you find it's setting too fast for you, then get some extra time, okay? Little yellow sachets, like, see them blue ones? They look, oh yeah, there's some yellow ones. See up there, next to the light, says refiner, then there's some yellow sachets. Zoom in, you can get yourself some of those. That'll slow the set down. Oh, there we go. I like that noise. That does that noise every time someone buys SBR. Paul Victor Charles Williams, I like Kurt Lart. Is Alfie's in Little Sutton still going? Don't get the port much these days. Paul, I do believe it is, mate. I don't go up that neck of the woods. I grew up in Little Sutton, but I sort of lived down the posh end now. I'm on the Stanny, mate, so the posh end. I'm only joking. It's like flipping Beirut. No, it's not. It's nice where I live. It's nice. Robbie Williams, where can I get SBR on the Whittle tomorrow? Any shops stock it, Kirk? Almost every builder's merchant is going to stock some brand of SBR, mate. Pretty much anywhere. Hughes Gray, MKM, Travis Perkins, they'll all stock it. If you wanted, I don't know whereabouts on the Whittle you are. If you know Bromborough, you can get it from our factory. You can just turn up at the front doors and just someone will sell you some there. But otherwise, mate, you'll get it from anywhere. There's not, it's not hard to get hold of. I think even, not sure. I think Screwfix sell it. Might be dear from there though. T. Almond, all right, geezer, watched your vid about the trowels today. Made me wonder if trowels could be sharpened using the same method knives are resharpened. Something I've been thinking about, mate. It makes sense, wouldn't it? It'd make everyone's life a lot easier when you're first getting started. I don't know why it's not done. Could be because obviously you'd be able to cut yourself on them. I don't know if you need special sort of licenses to sell knives or there's extra restrictions on it, but it would make sense. I mean, if you had a company that just had fully worn in trowels ready to go out the box, perfect, then surely that brand would do far better than every other brand, because who wants to struggle for 6 months to wear it in when you can just get one straight out of the packet? I don't know. Ashley Ward, hi Kirk, where do you dispose of your dirty water on domestic jobs? I usually make a little hole in the soil in the flower bed and just tip it off into there, and I'll leave all the sediment in the bottom of the bucket and then scoop it into a bag. If there's no place to make a hole, I made a video on this, and there was no place to make a hole apart from digging a hole in someone's grass, which they don't normally like. And then I will go to a main drain. You get in trouble by this for doing this. It's a grey area. Okay, there's no one's going to give you a solid answer for this apart from me. And I'll tell you, I tip the clean water off the top of the bucket, no sediment. I tip that down the drain, and then the sediment in the bottom I put in the back of my van in the bucket. I let it firm up overnight, and the next day I'll scoop it out into a plastic bag, and that's it. It's got rid of. Now, if you are seen tipping the clean water off the top of the bucket down the drain by someone from the council, they are going to assume that you're tipping dirty water down the drain, and you could potentially get a big fine. So you've got to have it in your mind. How are you going to address that situation? So make sure you've got clearly how you're going to explain what you're doing to somebody that catches you doing that, if you're going to tip it down the main drain in the street. I don't recommend tipping it down a customer's garden drain because these are usually blocked. And the minute you're seen by the customer tipping some water down there, if in the next 6 months they find that their drain's blocked, you're getting the blame for it. Whether it was you or not, they will blame you for tipping plaster down there. So just bear that in mind as well. Joe James, can you dump the water in the plant beds? It's good for plants or drains as long as you don't get lumps fall down there. Yes, ultimately. If you're going to do it in a plant bed, just make a little hole first. Use your bucket trowel, make a little hole and tip the water in that. Because if you do get a little bit of sediment, that water that you tip off is going to stain white. So if you tip it all over their flowers and all over the soil, it's going to look a mess. So if you make a little hole, tip it in there, let it drain through, and then cover it back over, it doesn't look a mess, and it won't hurt the plants either. But if you can't do that, then it's going to have to go down the grid, isn't it? Because what else are you going to do with it? Drink it. I mean, ultimately, you could just tip it into someone's wheelie bin, couldn't you? And say to the council, well, you don't want it down the grid. You'll fine me for going down the grid, so I tipped it in the bin. So, just see how that goes. See if they prefer that, because once you tip it in the wheelie bin, it's going to end up basically dripping all over the street, isn't it? When they tip the bin out, ultimately, you're building waste. Here we go. I have to flipping answer for everything I say just because there's be someone else that's saying, well, you shouldn't do that. Yeah. Ultimately, you should take your own waste to a waste disposal centre, refuge centre, whatever, and pay to have it business waste disposed of. Okay. So here's what you probably should do legally, right? Go and buy a 25-litre drum, tip all your dirty water into that, screw the lid on, take it to your local skip yard and pay them to get rid of that drum, okay? That's probably what you should do. Just think, though, what you think is going to cause more damage to the environment. Because by the end of the year, you're going to put out 100 drums of dirty water, plastic into the ground, into landfill sites, as opposed to some water that goes back into the ground with some sediment that's gypsum that comes from the ground. So it's basically going back to where it's come from. Anyway, we're shook. Let's just talk about something else. Yusuf Amin. Yes, mate. Hope you and yours are happy and well. I am, mate. I'm better now. I've seen your comment as well. Nice to see you, Yusuf. Joe James, the news. Anthony 94. I took 2 vacancies. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have. Sorry, Anthony. I took 2 vaccines. Looking back, I probably shouldn't have. I got COVID twice, both after the vaccinations. I should have listened to my uncle at the time. He said, don't always follow the herd. But you can't be blamed. My missus took the vaccines, and ultimately, I didn't try and sway my missus one way or another. I just stated the facts as I seen them and said, look, this is my decision. I'm not going to because of X, Y, and Z. But ultimately, it's your body. So don't go against it. What you've got to do in life is don't go against your own conscience. Don't compromise your own conscience, because if you do and it turns out to be the wrong decision, then you'll feel bad. It's going to hurt you. So as long as you stay within the limits of what your conscience tells you to do is right, then you're not going to feel bad about it, are you? Even if it's the wrong decision, you go, oh, well, it was a mistake. Like you're saying now, it was a mistake. Just say, for instance, Anthony, right? Let's just say, for instance, now, let's say you didn't take the vaccines. Let's say you caught COVID and you went and seen your grandma or your old auntie, right? And she got COVID and died. Then you'd be gutted, okay? And it might not have been your fault. She might have just caught it anyway, but you'd blame yourself. So the fact that you did what you thought was right is the right thing to do. That's what I would say, mate. Especially when it comes to a personal medical decision, do what you think is right. For me, I didn't think it was right to do it. I didn't believe in it. I didn't trust the science. I didn't want to be peer pressured into it. So I didn't believe it was right for me. But my missus, she did. She believed it was the right thing for her to do. So I said, do it. Well, I didn't say do it. She went and did it. I just had to deal with the consequences of it. I was like, okay. And then she was trying to tell me, you're putting us all at risk. You have to sleep in the dining room and all this. Like, So, hmm. Funny old world, isn't it? Isn't the world flipping funny? Uh, Yusuf, I found using a new trowel for bonding for a few jobs, the trowel is ready to go. Yeah, just using it's going to wear it in faster. The more you use it, the better it's going to get. Joe James, my dad took 3 vaccines. He wasn't an unhealthy man, but after he had them, he had a stroke randomly. Doctors had no idea why. It's a common theme, mate. It's very sad. Very sad. I'm sorry to hear about your dad, mate. I'm not brushing it off either. It's flipping horrible. But I don't want to seem like I'm all sort of one-sided about it. I think, I think any sort of medicine should be a personal choice. Yeah. But when you're sort of getting propaganded into something, it's hard to know what to do, isn't it? Anthony, exactly that, mate. There's always crime, wars, and God knows what else. But my kids are my concern. My job is to look after them. End of story. You know, think of what was going on when you were a kid. The wars that were going on, different parts of the world. Because since 1914, there's been non-stop war pretty much. I don't think somewhere in the world there's been conflict since 1914. I think we've had 3 days of peace in that whole time. It was a study done. But anyway, so somewhere in the world there's always been injustice and war and people getting killed non-stop since 1914, right? Think to when you were a child and think how much quality of life would I have had if my parents were consumed by war and suffering, You've gotta say, well, if I can't affect it and it's not affecting me, then I've got to get on with my life and prioritize my family and my kids and my happiness. And I'm not sort of saying that, let injustices go. If you can make a difference, do it. But ultimately, you've got to be able to switch off at some point from all the crap that's constantly getting fed to you and just say, just let me have my life, you know, without getting swamped with this stuff. It's not good for your mental health. Um, King Bumhole. I'm a plasterer, but crap at it. Mate, I love your honesty. I sort of feel the same myself, so we're in the same camp. Money. Hi, Kirk. I'm a gas engineer. Been watching your channel passively for about 2 years. Just fully skimmed my 1840s house. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. Fantastic, mate. Lovely to hear it. Padders82, you just released a video on what trial to use. Is there any way you could speed up the breaking in process by filing it with a stone block? I love the vids. Thank you so much, mate. Yes, you could. You could do it. Ultimately, it's always going to need to be doing a lot of skimming to bed it in nicely, though. So There are ways to speed it up, but it's a little bit unconventional, you know. I was sort of taught the way I was taught is the way I like to sort of recommend to other people because I know it works. I wouldn't want to say, oh, yeah, go and get a grinding wheel. I mean, if you look on my channel, you'll see a video of me when I got a cheap trowel off Amazon and I broke it in with a grinding wheel. It worked. Did the heat do the trowel any damage? I don't know. I only did one job of it. So uh, there are ways of doing it, but I just think using it, I mean, ultimately, if you're in your apprenticeship days, if you struggle a little bit, then you're going to be more skilled. So the struggle can actually be good for you. Now, I know it's a crap way of looking at it if you just got one job to do and you want to just get it done and that's it. But let's say, for instance, if you've just been given a fully worn in trowel, then you won't know how to get around situations where you've got to struggle with the plaster a little bit when it's dragging it, you know. So it's good to it's good to what's to say? You learn to walk by the amount of times you fall over, don't you? If you just got up and walked the first time, perfect. The first time you fell over, you'd probably flip and end up in hospital. But you fall over that many times, in the end, you learn not to fall over. So it's like plastering. You want to learn to plaster by learning everything that you shouldn't do. Learn all the mistakes. It's experience. The more experienced you are, the better plasterer you are. So, Clint, thank you again for such great advice. My friend is going on a plastering course, and I'm already telling him stuff that I've learned from you. So, thank you. Spot on. Cheers, Clint. Hopefully, what I say doesn't conflict with his tutor, but if it does, tell him to listen to his tutor. Tell him to make sure he does as he's told there, mate. Charlie Wilson, evening, mate. I've got my first job by myself next weekend, and there's a little bit of hard wall I need to do. How long does it take to go off? It's only a little patch. The size of the patch won't matter. If you mix up a handful of hard wall or a bucket of hard wall, it's a chemical reaction that's taking place. So it doesn't matter how big or small the patch is, it'll take the same amount of time before it sets. Hard wall is a flash set, so it'll all of a sudden it'll go from being wet to set quite quickly. You know, it's not like sand and cement, for instance, where it slowly starts to firm up over time and then sets, or like lime plaster, or like gypsum, like multi-finish and board finish. That sort of gets thicker and thicker and firmer, and then it's unworkable, and then it sets. Hard wall and bonding coat sort of wet set, you know, straight away. So a couple of hours, mate. It's designed to use it in the morning and skim it in the afternoon. So just do your patch, fill it out first thing in the morning, and by dinner time it'll be ready to do. Definitely, if not before. Charlie Wilson, because I've got plastering to do over it. Oh right, yeah, yeah. Well, that's it. That's what I'm saying, Charlie. Yeah, it's designed for that, mate. So, but it might take, I don't know, an hour or two. You know, it all depends. There's a lot of factors that change the setting times ultimately. So, Matt Edmonds, hello, mate. Matt from down Southampton, originally from Brom. Been skimming all my life. Just wanted to say I like your content. Plus, you make me feel homesick. Cheers, mate. I don't know if that as a compliment or an insult. I know there's a compliment in it. Barry, thank you for the video, Kirk. I enjoy them very much. Thank you, Barry. Oh, Matt Edmonds. Sorry, you meant Frodsham. Okay, mate. Yeah. My dad lives in Frodsham now, mate. Port Chris. All right, Kirk. Just stumbled on your channel a few days ago. Vids are class. All the best from the Rossmore. My missus from the Rossmore, mate. In fact, I don't know if I don't know how long you've been there for. If you remember, Big Dennis Dunn and Sharon Dunn, Tony, Nikki, John, Sam, and Mark. That's my wife is Nikki. So I don't know if you know them or not, mate, but that's where they're from, the Rossmore. So it's only a small place, isn't it? So D. Gallagher painting. Yes, Kurt. Wondering if you could shed some light on why does plaster pop off around the wall to ceiling joint? Seems to come off the tape. Best way to repair. I scrape out, refill, and should use J tape. Okay, yeah. The reason for that, mate, is movement. So when the joists move, when the joists contract and shrink, when there's any movement at all, that bit of movement is transferred through the scrim, and the scrim ultimately is so wide, on the ceiling and on the wall, so it makes that part of the plaster pop off. So it's just from movement, mate. It's just it could be movement from above, settlement, or shrinkage. Timbers, and it is a great example. I can't really show you, but um I like that noise. The timbers in here, when I first did them, they were butted up tight as possible next to each other. And if one had a bow in it, I literally got clamps and brought it in tight. And now every single timber, I can fit a pound coin in the slot. That's how much they've shrunk. So I can't imagine how much shrinkage there is in someone's house once they've had an extension built or a house built. Next comment. There you go. Oh, Dash 90. Thank you. Sorry, meant to say plaster adhesive. Okay, mate. Paul Victor Charles Williams, the posh end, Stanny. He knows. He knows. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's the one, mate. The Strange Grange is where I live. RVL, no, RV Legacy. Are you wanting to get your SBR stocked in merchants? No. No, because we would have to if we got the SPR stock in the merchants, one or two things would have to happen. Either the merchants would charge you more money to make a profit margin on it, or we would have to take a hit in our profit margins. Now, ultimately, what's interesting is builders merchants ask us how much to buy it, and they say, "Oh, we'll buy 500 litres off you in one go. What price can you do for us?" And they want like mega. So they want to really chip us down and want to get it as cheap as possible off us, which is fine. I understand that's how business works. But ultimately, they'll say they buy off us, I don't know, 20 tubs of SBR, and they want it for a mega discounted price. I mean, we're selling double that, triple that every single day ourselves. So supplying one builder's merchant for a cheaper price and taking a hit on it, it's ultimately not really worth it. If it was a big merchant across loads of people, it would probably work quite well. But I don't really. Ultimately, a lot of the builders merchants are dealing with big suppliers, so we literally sell this stuff as cheap as it possibly can be before it's not worth us doing it. So a big supplier, someone like Seeker or Everbuild, their their purchasing power is a lot more than ours. They're buying like hundreds of thousands of liters at a time. So they're getting it for a lot better price than what we are. The raw materials they will get for a lot better price, and then they water it down, they do whatever they're doing to it, fine. Um, and they can make their profit margins on what they do. Now, I didn't ultimately need the money from the SBR. All I wanted to do was make the best product we possibly could and then sell it for the best price that we can. So our margins are quite tight unless we start watering the stuff down or buying in a lot more bigger volume. Now we are growing, fairly quick. So as we get bigger and bigger and we're getting more purchasing power rather than buying 5,000 litres at a time, 10,000 litres at a time, we'll be able to start bringing in 30,000 litres at a time, like a tanker load at a time. And then we'll get better rates ourselves off the suppliers and we'll make better margins. And then we could look at stocking merchants. But at the minute, either we would suffer with making no money or you guys would suffer trying to buy it because they'd have to make the money from somewhere. So for us, we sell enough through the internet that it doesn't really warrant it. It's not really worth doing it. So, and it's nice, it's more personal because I've literally got my finger on the pulse, because it's coming directly from our online store. If anybody has a problem, you're not speaking to a branch manager and getting fobbed off. If, fortunately, There's not been any problems. A few people have said they get a smell of ammonia, but we know what that is. It's not ultimately the SBR, it's the background that they're going on to, and the SBR just causes it to release it. Doesn't do any harm, it just smells a bit funky for a little while, and it's very, very rare. But I get to deal with that personally. So rather than someone sort of going, "Ah, it's flipping crap, and I'll never use it again," and getting fobbed off by the place that they bought it, the email in and Lauren forwards it to me, and I phone them. So it's like it's good because the customer relations is like literally me to you. So I like it like that. I think customer service is paramount. The customers have to be happy. I mean, I'm not trying to sell you stuff, by the way. Seems like a great sales pitch, this, doesn't it? It's not. But I can do stuff. I know from a plasterer's point of view what's nice. So I say to them sometimes, just throw some free gifts in. So we stock half time and extra time on our website because Mark Shepherd, who makes it, is a friend of mine. So of course we'll stock his stuff and sell it. We've got a great price on it. But every now and then I'll say, oh, you know, just chuck a few free things in for people, just out of the blue, just throw some in. Or, if someone's said, oh, me delivery's late, I've had a problem with the delivery, well, we can send them an extra tub, because it's sort of me that they're dealing with. And I'm not that worried about trying to be a multi-millionaire. So I can look after people a little bit. So I think it's nice to keep it sort of in-house rather than loads of other merchants all trying to drive the cost down to compete with each other. It's sort of, if you want it, you've got to come to us for it. And then we can look after you properly. We can give you a good service and a good product. Wes, you can sharpen trowel on whetstone. I did mine and it went like a razor blade. People do it, yeah. Robbie Williams, sorry, meant your SBR were in Bromborough. Sorry, meant your SBR. Where in Bromborough is your factory? Okay, right. Screwfix in Bromborough is in a cul-de-sac. So drive down to Screwfix and don't stop at Screwfix. Just go another 100 meters, and the factory is the end on the right of that cul-de-sac. Okay, so we haven't got a sales counter there, but if you turn up there, the lads know the score. They will just sort it for you. So that's where it is, mate. Yeah, just knock on there. Just turn up at the factory, ring the buzzer, and someone will come out and just help you out, mate. Not a problem if you want to pick it up tomorrow. You might have to just pay online for it there and then, and they will just give you it unless you've got cash in your pocket. But otherwise, you can just sort of stand in front of them, place your order on the website, and they will just pass you the stuff to you. All right, mate. Port Chris, the Scottish or the Welsh courts on the Stanley Grange. I'm originally from the Wessie. I can't talk. Yeah. So well, I'll tell you what's interesting, Chris. I'm originally from the Parklands and I've moved to the Stanny with my missus. She's originally from the Rossmore, but her parents now live on the Wessie. So between me and my missus, I think that's every council estate in Ellesmere Port done, checked. Lorenzo Sinclair, just found the neighbour's pond and pour the old water in there. The fish love it. I bet they do. Gino, hi Kurt, love the live streams on a Sunday. Glad your knees on the mend. Cheers, mate. Nice one, Gino. Jonathan, I like to leave my dirty water overnight, then filter the clean off for the new cleaning bucket, put the leftover plastic in an empty bag. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. It's the best way to do it, mate. You're spot on. Denzel, hi Kirk, can you help me out, please? Lime, cement, and sand, 116, and an internal chimney breast, well soaked prior starting to show cracks after 2 hours, but not white. Is it okay to spray with a fine mist, or water to help it? Cheers, Kirk. Yes, they usually call your first coat the crack coat anyway, mate. It's gonna shrink a little bit and crack. It's just part and parcel of it. Do as much as you can to keep it hydrated for as long as possible, but ultimately you will get little shrinkage cracks in it, mate. You will not stop it. It's normal. Don't worry about it. As long as it's not flaking and curling off, keep it well hydrated. Um, Bond 25. My nephew went on one of your courses to learn how to plaster. He was renovating a 3-floor Victorian house as a DIY project at nights and weekends. It's taken him a while, as he did every room. Fair dues, mate. I'm glad he's done it. I don't think he went on one of my courses because I haven't done any. I'm literally doing a plastering experience day next weekend, the first one I've ever done. So I don't know where he's gone. Well, it wasn't with me, unless he's turned up and worked for me at some point. But it wasn't a course with me. Oh, the comments have shot to the bottom here. Oh, where are we going here now? Right. Flipping heck, here we go. Right, okay, there we go. I flipping can't handle it. I need someone to do these comments for me, so I keep getting lost. Right. V8 Motors plastered my first bathroom ceiling, 2 meters squared, sound insulated and soundboarded. Only had 12-inch stainless steel trowel, which was a bit too shiny. Used multi-finish, fast finish, was a bit too skiddy, would rather the steel. Yeah, as long as you got it done. It's the end result that matters, mate. As long as you got there in the end. Alex, hey Kirk, hope you're well. In a bit of a pickle. I'm plastering a house for the builder that scams his customers. I've only found this out halfway through the job. Would you carry on or pack up and leave? Oh, I don't know, mate. I don't know the situation. I don't know the builder. I don't know how he's scamming them. It's there's a lot of variables that could be going on here. You know, has he paid you ultimately? Make sure that you're getting paid first. So how he scams his customers would only be if he charged them and didn't do the work, or if he charged them too much. But if they've accepted the price, then they've sort of, they've accepted the price. So I don't know how he's scamming them. But ultimately, if you don't finish the work and you've been paid for it, then that's you scamming them. So you've got to be careful. Is he paying you? As long as you're getting paid, I'd keep going, mate. And maybe just decide whether you want to do the next job for him or not. But it's hard because there's so many different ways that things could be happening here, like without me being able to sort of sit down with you and get to the bottom of what's going on. James Mincher, is there an obvious difference between Victorian and Georgian houses? Look, some told me old and grand between Victorian and Georgian houses. Look, same to me, lol, old and grand. Yeah. Victorian and Georgian. Ultimately, there's probably ways to tell them. I don't know, mate. As far as I'm concerned, my sort of knowledge goes as far as knowing lime plaster to modern gypsum plasters. I'm not that well versed in architecture to be able to distinguish between a Victorian and a Georgian home. There may be some massive identifying marks, but I don't personally know of them, mate. And ultimately, I think once you're in the houses, the plastering system that will be in those houses will be the same. There'll be lath and plaster with lime. So I wouldn't worry about it too much ultimately, unless you're just looking from an architectural point of view, in which case, get that book, that big blue book there, that covers all the different, what do they call them now? Not modes of architecture. Can't think of the word I'm searching for. Anyway, that book covers all the different types of architecture that you come across, and it'll probably be contained in there if you want to brush up on it. But I currently haven't got a need to sort of know it in that depth. Alex, there's more to the story, but I can only type so much. Fair enough. um, V8 Motors Part 2 trial came out. Great. Hardest part was banging my head on 10-inch round light hanging down. Done plenty of joint and fill though. Fair play, mate. MCFC just started out plastering. What size trial do you recommend? Love from Ireland. Get a 14-inch trial, mate. The 14 or a 16-inch trial. Anthony 1984. Good night, folks. I'm off. Have a great week, everyone. I'm up at 5 in the morning. Got roped into a job nearly 70 miles away for a friend. Good night, mate. Take it easy. David Matthews, Kirky boy. How's your knee, fella? It's on the mend, mate. Thank you very much. We're getting there. James McCannon should cover all joints before skim, in my opinion. Yes, Joe James, Alex, I would ask for 50% of the price before you continue the rest. That's a way of doing it, yeah. Ultimately, you could do that. Paul Victor Charles Williams. I always say to builders, before I carry on, I always say to builders, you've got to show them a certain amount of trust. If you I'm saying that. I've done it a different way round in the past. I always want paying at the end of every week, regardless of what people's terms are, unless I really know the person. Like the firm that I've been doing work for lately, which I've it's come to an end now because I've told them I don't want to do any more because I want to concentrate on me doing YouTube videos as opposed to doing the same type of extension week in, week out. But I always would say to them, look, I want paying at the end of every week, regardless of what their payment terms are. I've had companies tell me in the past, we pay every 28 days and all this. I'm like, not if you want me to do it. If you want me to do it, I get paid on Friday, and that's it. If you don't like them terms, then just get somebody else to do it. So that's how I've always sort of stuck to it. I did turn up on one job once years ago, and the minute we get there, it was for a medium-sized building company called Grey Build Limited. And what they were doing was turning public toilets into doctor surgeries. Well, there was an aspect of it as a public toilet, but anyway, buildings, they were turning like old council buildings into doctor surgeries. And we turned up on the site, and straight away the site agent come and seen us, and he was an old fella, looked like he was getting ready for retirement. And he said to me, who's running the plasterers sort of thing. I was like, me, mate, nice to meet you, let's get up to speed. And I thought he wanted to go and do a health and safety meeting, toolbox talk, fire escapes and all that nonsense. And all he said to me was, before you do anything, he said, the ground workers haven't been paid. That's why they're not here. The electricians haven't been paid. They're not coming back yet. The roofers haven't been paid. And he listed off about 6 different people that haven't been paid. He said, so I'm telling you, he said, because I've added up to here. He said, I don't want you coming and rattling my door and kicking off at me because you haven't been paid. So obviously someone's given him a bit of stick because they haven't been paid. So anyway, he's told me the situation that no one's getting money out of this company so far. But this company's getting to a point where they're going to start getting penalties from the doctors for not having the works complete because they set a sort of time. They say, we'll be done on this date. And then after this, they get a daily penalty accumulating until the job's finished, which obviously bites into their profit margin. Now, this firm, they're not a massive firm, Grey Build. I don't even know if they're still going, but they had like maybe an accountant, a QS, a secretary, a manager in the office. They had like 6 or 7 people in an office. And then they had like, they were probably they had about 30 staff, say, and a bit of equipment. So they're a mid-sized company. And I always find these guys are a nightmare. Your little one-off builders, they're sound because they're like us. They're just normal blokes. So they're okay with you. They live in the real world. Your massive house builders, the likes of Redrow and Persimmon, they're usually spot on because they've got the money. So you don't normally struggle getting paid off them either. It always seems to be the mid-sized builders that give you all the headaches. And this was the situation of this company. No one was getting paid. They had cash flow issues. So all I said to them was, I phoned them up and said, look, this is the situation. We've just turned up and we've been told that these haven't been paid. These haven't been, all these people have not received payments. So this is what we want you to do. I had six of us there in total, 5 plasterers with me. And I said to them, we want X amount of money put into my bank now. You pay us now. I said, we've drove here. We're like 25 miles away from home. I said, I've drove here. We're all here ready to work. But this is the situation that we've just landed in. Now, I'm not asking for a week's worth of money up front or anything like that. I want you to pay us for today. Now we're here and we'll do the day's work. I said, because if you don't pay us for the day, you're basically asking for that value off us instead. So let's just put a round number on it. Let's just say it was 500 quid. It wasn't, but let's just say 500 quid. You're asking for 500 quid's worth of work, and I'm asking for 500 quid up front, right? But here's the situation, and this is what I said to them on the phone. Here's the situation. My reputation's intact. I've got nothing to hide or worry about. But I've turned up and your reputation's in tatters. I don't trust you because of what I've just heard. So I know it seems hard for you to pay up front, but ultimately, you are the guys that are causing trust issues. So you pay us and we do the job. And that's how it went for about a week and a half. Every single day, I'd go over to the cash machine because it was before the internet banking. This, I'd go over the cash machine, check the account, and at 8 a.m., their accountant would transfer the set amount every day. And on the last day, when there was a tiny little bit left to do, they didn't pay us. So we drove all that way and the money didn't go in. And when I was on the phone to them, they got all shirty on the phone, but there was only a little tiny bit of plastering left to do. So someone had been reporting back to them saying these guys have nearly finished. You know, there's only a tiny little bit to do, and that ultimately was going to be like a half day for us, but I was going to get paid for the full day. So that would have been my little sort of treat at the end of it. You know, would have paid the lads off and sort of had a little bit left for me. But anyway, so yeah, there's different ways of doing things. You don't have to follow the rules. You can just make something up, you know, as long as it seems fair. That's ultimately what I did there. And then the last day we sort of lost out because obviously we traveled all the way there, didn't get paid, so we didn't do the job and traveled back. So we lost a day basically, you know, we didn't do any work, but we had a day off that we didn't account for. Um Poor Victor Charles. That noise in the background meant Kirk just sold an item online. Yeah, I, I should turn it off before I come online. But every time that goes ka-ching, that's when someone makes an order online. It's just sort of cheers me up, you know. Uh, James MC McCadden. Merchants always want 100% markup. Yeah, and then they compete with each other and drive your flipping product into the ground as well. So you got to be careful with them. D Gallagher painting, mate. You're a legend. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. JT, yes, Kirk, how's it going, mate? Very good, thank you, mate. What time is it? Okay. Nearly 10. I'm gonna try and wrap this up at 10 so I can go and spend a little bit of time with the missus. Now all the kids will be in bed, so well, upstairs at least. They won't be asleep yet. Jack Lewis, how you doing, Kirk? I'm a plasterer who lives in Bolton. Thinking of working for myself. What advice could you give me, pal? If you're thinking of going off by yourself, start bringing in as much work as you possibly can now. Start getting your weekends busy. Start trying to get yourself little patching jobs of an evening. Okay. What you don't want to do is quit your job and then find that there's a big gap, there's nothing there. So, what you want to do is start getting used to doing as many jobs on the weekends as possible. Start building up your reputation and your name and bringing in the work yourself. And you want to get it to the point where you're sort of doing little jobs on the way home from work, little jobs in the evening, and then ultimately your actual job's in the way. And once your actual job's in the way, then you can sort of, you know, put your notice in, do whatever work you need to do, and then let it go. You don't want to just quit because you've got a job lined up this weekend and then start trying to look for work because then you're in panic mode. So I know it means extra work in the meantime, but think of the money. We're all self-employed. We all know the score. Just get as much money as you can. Um, LL, the yellow pre-grit is a very good product, not as thick as the blue grit. Yeah, I've seen that. Is it Plas Prime? I don't know. Might be Plas Prime. The best grit I ever used was Thistle Bondit, but it's just too expensive, man. Just couldn't pay £80 a tub for it, you know. Um, James MC McCallan, do you do much slap dashing? I'm assuming that you mean like wet dash or rough cast, as I call it, wet dashing, as opposed to dry dashing. You know, the stones are mixed in with the sand and cement. Not a lot, hardly any now. Now all the modern renders are about almost never get asked for it, you know. But it's good fun going home with pebbles in your undies, flipping your hair, everything's covered in sand and cement. Matt Donald, I like Kirk, love the camera upgrade finally. Love a good week of rendering ahead. All the best. Cheers, Matt. Thank you, mate. Storm and Mike, do you get any work installing PIR then overskim? No, no, I don't do PIR, mate. No. Ivan Prico, I know you're drinking Guinness, but do you like Newcastle Brown? Do you know what's funny, mate? Bizarrely enough, I've never actually tried it. But I mean, I can drink almost anything, so I'm sure I will. I'm sure I won't be like a repulsed by it, you know. I've never actually tried it though, mate. It's odd, isn't it? I've always been a lager man, but you know, I liked Budweiser, Peroni, Moretti, but the Reflux I've just gone to Guinness, you know. So Alex, he's overcharging after this first initial quote and putting on thousands without telling them. He's paying me weekly after getting paid off the customer. Another builder's been on the job. I'm ripped into pieces and pulled everything, but the plastering, every room is full of rubbish, and it's up to me to clean everything before I start. The customers have taken my number personally in case they. Where's the rest of your comments? Can't see where the rest of your comments is. Okay, well, it's like, so ultimately, mate, it's okay the builder saying that he's charging extra and he's going to put thousands of extras on, but that doesn't mean he's going to get it. You know, if someone comes to me at my place and says, Kirk, I'm going to put a brand new kitchen in for you and it's going to be 13,000 quid, fine, we agree. And if they have a little problem and they come and speak to me about it and they say, oh, you know, we didn't account for this and this has happened, and I can see it, it makes logical sense. Okay, fair enough. Things happen. We live in the real world. There's extra money. I can, you know, I'll pay you the extra. But if someone says to me 13,000 quid and they do the job, and then at the end of the job they say, oh, actually it's 17 because we had to do X, Y, and Z. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't mean that he's going to get 17. So, I mean, I know he might have all intentions of ripping the customers off, but until they give him the money, then he's had a wild fantasy, hasn't he, about getting more money. So unless he's negotiating with the customers as he's going and explaining and they're agreeing, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be able to rip them off. He might be planning on it, but doesn't mean it's going to happen, mate. So I would say do the best job you can, make sure you get paid, and leave the customer to deal with that. What he might be doing, he might be using a psychological tactic on you. He might be telling you that he's going to be charging these guys extra and complaining about prices and this and this and this, and it might be all a big smoke screen to try and make sure that you don't charge too much. You know, a lot of builders ultimately. I mean, I'm not saying this in a negative sense to all builders. They try and make out that they're making no money and that this has gone wrong and I've got to pay this and I'm going to have to charge them for this and this and this and this. And they're saying this to the lads that are working for them to justify trying to keep the lads on as little money as possible. But the builder might be doing okay. I mean, what's interesting is you work for some builders and every single job they tell you they've lost on it, you know. I lost on that job, I lost on that job, I lost on that job. And you think, well, You've been losing on jobs for 20 years, but I mean, you've got a nice big house, a nice big fancy car. So I don't know how you're doing it if you keep losing. So it's sometimes just a psychological tactic, you know. Not saying all builders do that. There's plenty of fantastic builders, but different fellas manage the lads that are under them different ways with different tactics. I have always been a big fan of get the best people, pay them the best money, and you get the best work. Everyone's happy. You know, if everyone's happy, the job's productive, people are helping each other. I think that yields the best outcome. But it's on the builder's part to find the best customers that are happy to pay for a good quality job. If your builder's going round and he's only getting customers that are like, you know, like that with money, they don't want to spend the bean, then he's already off to a tough start, you know. So right, I don't want to miss anyone's comments out, so let's just finish these off. Do us a favour, guys. Don't add many more comments in because I've got 3 minutes before I want to go in. Where was you up to? Brothers, hey Kirk. Hope you're healed up now. How's the leg doing? Taking physiotherapy. Sorry if you've mentioned it already. Mate, it's doing very well. Thank you for asking. I don't care if I've mentioned it already, mate. I appreciate people asking after me. So, yeah, I'm doing good, mate. I'm on the mend. Thank you for asking. Alex, we read that, didn't we, mate? Paul Gamble just finished a hardwall job, and I used the Chinese method of using an aluminium box, which I stuck onto the wall, then taking it off to leave a rail for ruling off. Works a treat. Wow, okay, that's interesting, mate. I'd be interested to see how you've done that. Clint, I watched a trial video this morning, and the first thing I checked was the slight curve on the end, as I thought. I had a Marshalltown 40 before carbon steel. I'm looking forward to using it tomorrow. Fantastic. Reese, hey Kirk, plastering for 30 years now, completely on my own for 12 years. Great channel, love the payment comments. Same as me, paid on completion on every Friday. Amazing how many think they can pay whenever. Yeah, it's cash flow, mate. Cash flow can kill little businesses, especially little one-man bands like me. You know, some fellas, you don't know everyone's financial situation, you know, and it's cruel. It's a very cruel thing to do to somebody because, say, for instance, now I'm quite fortunate that my mortgage and everything's quite peanuts, basically. But somebody else could be in a completely different financial situation. They could have, you know, all sorts of debt around their ear holes. They've got no savings whatsoever. And then you've got someone saying, you've got no work, you can take this work, but you're not getting paid for a month or 2 months. So the man's got to do it, but you're putting him in a flipping horrible situation, aren't you? Because he could take the risk and go and try find other work that he get paid straight away, or he could take this work, but then he's not going to get paid for it, and then he's sort of tied in that you've got to complete it, you've got to jump through the hoops, you've got to do everything we say. If we smash it, you've got to fix it, and you've got to do all that before we pay you. It's not fair, really. You know, you're sort of you're putting a man over a barrel that's just trying to look after his family. So I just say, because I've never struggled for getting work, you see. So I say, look, we'll just do it my way, and you just pay me every Friday, or you get someone else, and I'll just go and do something else. So simple, isn't it? But you've got to be good at getting work in. You know, it's something that people don't teach you. Lads get taught how to do a fantastic job. But not many people get taught how to bring work in, how to actually get the phone to ring, and then when it is ringing, how to go and price the jobs. It seems to be like you just get left on your own to do that. Like you're just thrown in at the deep end. And that's why I set my sales and marketing camp up so that tradesmen that don't know how to bring work in, you know, they're great at what they do, but perhaps haven't been as good at getting as many jobs in as possible. That's what that's there for. And then salesmanship skills when you're in front of the customer, what to say, the best things, how to put your best foot forward, and ultimately, a customer's got in their mind certain things that they want to be reassured on when you're in their house, when you're pricing the job up. And there's a few things that you can say to tick the boxes. So, like, yeah, this guy knows what he's going to do. We can trust him. So that's why I set that sales and marketing camp up. And if anyone's interested in that, there's a link in the description to this video, kirkjohnstone.co.uk. And when you click on that, there's a little section, get more work with Kirk. If you want to jump in there, I've basically just made a whole video course sort of describing how I've done that my whole life, how I've brought jobs in and how I've gone about pricing them and the salesmanship skills and stuff that involved. Not trying to blow my own trumpet. This is only stuff that I've paid to learn myself. I've literally paid sales coaches to teach me certain things. I've paid internet gurus to teach me how to use the internet to do it, you know? So, and don't worry, you don't have to go on YouTube. You have to make videos of yourself. This is a new thing for me, you know, going to the different avenues. So, Anthony Herbert. Hi Kirk, what trowel is better? I hear Marshalltown, Ox Refiner. Which one would you recommend and why? Okay, Marshalltown. I've used Marshalltowns from the beginning. I have had other trowels, but I've used Marshalltown, so I like it because it's something I know. Ox, I've never bothered with. I've never tried one of their trowels. Refiner, I've used their tools. They were fine as well. Refiner and Marshalltown, both very well built. But for me, I use a thin trowel, 4-inch wide, just to save me wrist. Marshalltown are the only brand that make them like that. So I just stay with Marshalltown. Just sort of sticking with what you know, isn't it? You know, we all like Heinz beans, don't we? Because it's what you sort of had when you were a kid. So you just sort of like stick with it, you know. Whether that's a good thing or not, I don't know. But Greg P. Hi Kirk, I've booked on your next course in Liverpool. Looking forward to it. That's this weekend coming. There's one this weekend coming. There's one next weekend coming, Greg. So if you're on about this weekend coming, I'm looking forward to it, mate. It'll be a great day. Have a good laugh. A couple of gauges of plastering. A few pints afterwards if you're sticking around, and a meal. All laid on, mate. You don't have to put your hand in your pocket. Get a couple of pints and a meal. So I'm looking forward to it, mate. It's a plastering experience day, and ultimately, what I wanted to do is just give you guys a day in my life. So it's literally what I do every day. So a bit of plastering, a bit of beer, and a bit of food. So it should be a good laugh anyway, mate. And hopefully you'll get stuff from it as well. You know, you'll get good value from it. Moisty Martinez, Harling in the old times. Yeah, there you go. Another name for it. Thing with plastering, every part of the country's got their own terms. James McCarran, the slap dashing is making a comeback in Ireland. Always good sign of good plasterer that can do it. You'll know when someone's done it, mate, because they're flipping covered in this stuff. Unless that's just me, unless the good plasterers don't get it on themselves. But when I do it, I'm pebble dash myself by the end of it. James Harris, evening Kirk. Have you ever been to Ireland and had a Guinness? A guy I work with reckons it tastes so much better than what we serve over here. Yes, I have been. So my kids, well, my middle daughter went to Punchestown Racecourse. So we keep horses, and my daughter competes on her horses. And she ended up representing England in the international championships of Pony Club. Her team were representing England. So we went over to Ireland to compete at Punchestown Racecourse. Now, for me, I'm not really that interested. I mean, I'm not asked about horses. It's not my thing, you know. I like my kids doing it. I like my kids to be involved in it because it keeps them off the streets. They're with the mum all the time. They're doing something wholesome. They're exercising. They've got responsibilities. They've got to clean and muck out and do all that. So it's good for them, you know. So I like them doing it. But I don't like having to sort of be stuck spectating because it's quite boring stood in the field just watching horses go over jumps and round flipping tracks. So I snuck off and I had a good few Guinness in Ireland, mate, and it was fantastic. In fact, I'm looking forward to I am going back to Ireland this year at some point to go and do some work with Mark Neeson. I'm going to go over there and jump in with him for a couple of days, so I'm looking forward to getting back over there and seeing if I can lead them boys astray and get them to have a day off and just go to the pub for a day as well. Whilst we'll do a couple of days' work, and I'll see if I can get them to just jack in for a day, and we all just go and drink Guinness. We'll see. They might just cart me off, mightn't they? Mark Kerr, builders are the worst. Not all. Builders can be bad, but there's a lot of good fellas out there. There's a lot of good guys that have just sort of come up for the trade, and then they're just good at organising and managing, so they just sort of naturally go into that role of a builder. So I always find if you work with a builder that's been a tradesman, they're a lot easier to work with, as opposed to somebody that has just decided he's going to be a builder and hasn't got a trade, you know. Not knocking them. I'm sure there's good guys those as well, but I always find that guys that have been on the tools themselves have a better understanding, you know. They don't sort of ask for unreasonable tasks to be completed because they know what it's like, you know. Madden building and roofing evening, pal. Hope you're well. How's the knee? Very good, mate. We're slowly, well, I'm mending quite fast, I'd imagine. It's been just over a week now, and it feels fairly okay, you know. Just a bit of pain when I put weight on it. Carl Lewis, hi Kirk, have you finished your bathroom yet? No, but it's starting tomorrow. So it's, well, not starting. It's being resurrected tomorrow. That job. We're getting back to it tomorrow, or beginning very very slowly, but we'll make a little inroad into it. Big Dan in LA. There we go. You don't need to tell me you're in the United States, Dan. It already says it in your name. Big Dan in LA. I'm in the United States, not a plasterer, but was very much tempted to fly over for your course. Love your channel and willingness to teach. My birthday is on the 15th, so it would have been nice to go. Oh, mate. It would have been an absolute pleasure to have you as well. Yeah, flipping heck. I tell you what would be better, mate. Don't come over here. If you're in LA, just organise for me to have somewhere to stay if I come there instead. I'll come to the flipping the sunshine. Don't worry about coming to the UK. James McCann, we all get covered. Yeah, spot on. Wet dashing's a nightmare, isn't it? It's same. Is that your name? It's same. Hi Kirk. Whereabouts are you based? I've just bought my first home and need quite a bit of work. Also, need your knowledge about skimming over Artex ceilings. I'm in a little place called Ellesmere Port, mate, just near Chester and Liverpool. And when you're ready, feel free to pick my brains, and I'm all ears, mate. Big Dan in LA. I have family in the southwest, so would have loved to visit with them while over. Well, Dan, I think we're going to do more of these one-off days, mate. I think we'll do more. I organised one, and there was that many people that were messaging saying that they were gutted because they'd missed the opportunity that we did. I organised another one straight away. And I went back on my word. I actually said that I wasn't going to do that. I was going to see how the first one went. But then I sort of felt a little bit sort of, I don't know, just because people were saying, oh, I'm gutted. If I'd known, I would have booked on that instantly, mate. And I thought, okay, let's just do another one straight away. So there's two that are sort of together. And we're going to do these two because one's coming up this weekend coming. And then we'll know after that if there's going to be more in the pipeline. So as soon as by next Sunday, we'll have an answer if we're going to do more. And then if we are, then you're more than welcome to jump on, mate. Jake Aker, just on with plastering the final room in my house at the minute as a DIYer, watching your videos. Wouldn't have been able to do it without your help. Much appreciated. I hope the knee is healing up well. Jake, thank you very much, mate. Appreciate your kind comments. Thank you. Stone Smasher, cheers, buddy, from Ohio. Another American guy on. I feel like I'm getting a bit of reach here, aren't I? People all around the world. It's same. Thanks, Kirk. Where can I find your contact details? I'm based in Bolton if you travel that far. Look, I'll be honest with you, 100%. I'm sort of at a slow transition at the minute, mate, where I'm sort of I don't really want more plastering work. As crazy as it sounds, I do, but I want the right type of work. So there's I'm aware that on my channel I've got a certain amount of content, but there could be so much more of varied content that I want to do. And what I tend to keep doing is the same types of jobs because they're the ones that constantly keep coming in. And there's stuff that I want. I want content on my channel like how to float walls with standard cement. Hence going to Ireland because I never get asked to do it over here, and that's all he seems to be doing over there. So I'm going to Ireland to just do some floating work so I can get some content for that on my channel. I want to do some lime plastering. I want to do some running in situ, some bench work. I want to do, how to run ball nose corners. There's so much stuff that I want to do, but I keep getting sort of tied up in the same re-skimming Artex ceilings, re-skimming living rooms, and it's good, but I don't want to sort of bore the life out of you guys with the same content as well. And I'm in a fortunate position now where I can sort of not have to worry about making so much money from plastering. I need to make a bit, not completely free, but I can I can focus more on making the content. So as far as going to Bolton, mate, if I can help you in any way, I will. If I can put people onto the right people in touch with you and give you as much advice as possible, but I don't want to sort of lead you up the garden path and say I'll be there next week because I'm sort of I'm trying to take myself down a different route at the minute, mate. Um, feels dead awkward saying sort of I don't want to do the job, but I'm just trying to be as honest as I can, mate. But if you need to get hold of me to ask me any questions, mate, go to my channel description. My email address is in there, and you can pop me an email over, no problem. Big Dan and LA, totally understand, mate. No hard feelings. Looking forward to potential future opportunities, mate. I'm looking forward to meeting you now. The fact that you're coming from America just to come and do this course and see some family, I feel quite honoured. So I sort of I want to do another one just so I can say, yeah, but even Big Dan flew over to come and do it. Stone Smasher, heck yeah, buddy. Cheers. It's same. Totally understand, Kirk. Thank you very much. I'm glad. I'm glad that went down okay, mate. Thanks for being understanding and getting where I'm coming from. Um, Stone Smasher, I usually follow all the UK masons. Keep up with what you're doing on your side of the ocean. Masonry related. Top man, thank you. Right, gentlemen, we're on quarter of an hour over. It's been an interesting one tonight. I didn't think we were going to get into politics, so I hope we're all still good. No one spat the dummy out. I probably look over at about flipping 20 people unsubscribed. He doesn't love Ukraine. He should love Ukraine. Anyway, guys, it's been a pleasure. It's been emotional, as always. Take it easy, guys. God bless and good night.